Hey everyone, MrDVB here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about my top 10 most anticipated movies releasing in 2026. Yes, I realize it is the middle of March and this video is well past its prime release schedule, but nothing that's come out this year so far would have ended up on my top 10 list, so it sort of works out for me in the end. That being said though, this is shaping up to be an excellent year for film. There is a lot of movies coming out this year that I'm interested in. Quite a few of them are being made by some of the biggest and best directors working today, so that is all very, very exciting. And it's so exciting, in fact, that I couldn't just talk about only 10 movies. I had to include some honorable mentions, so I'm going to get those out of the way very quickly. Kind of a random list for honorable mentions. I picked movies that I'm, looking forward to that I highly doubt are going to end up anywhere near like my favorites list by the end of the year. But that being said, let's get into it. First one is going to be for the Super Mario Galaxy movie. I enjoyed the last Mario movie a decent amount. It's not incredible by any means, but it was a fun film. Good animation, funny, enjoyable. And I love the Mario games, so seeing more of that is exciting for me. We're getting elements from the Galaxy games, we're getting elements from Odyssey, Yoshi's in the movie. It'll be a fun time, I'm sure. My next honorable mention is going to be for Star Wars, The Mandalorian, and Grogu. Now, I am a huge Star Wars fan. I always have been. It is my favorite franchise at heart, but I would be lying if I said that this franchise hasn't fallen off a cliff ever since Disney acquired it. I seriously don't know why this is the first film that they are releasing after a 6-year theatrical hiatus. The first trailer for this movie did absolutely nothing for me whatsoever. I thought it was a terrible trailer. It looked like a couple of episodes of the TV show stitched together being thrown in theaters. The second trailer, though, it was more exciting. It definitely showed some more set pieces and some more of what we can come to expect from this film. At the very least, I'm hoping that this is at least just an entertaining Star Wars film. I don't think this is going to be enough to bring people back to the franchise. I think they should have gone a far different route in that regard for their first movie in 6 years, but hopefully this one's a fun time. Next up, Clayface. This is going to be the third film in James Gunn's DCU. Supergirl is also coming out later this year. And Clayface is a Batman villain who I've always liked. He's got some really cool abilities, being able to morph into any appearance that he wants, being able to change shape, etc. Essentially Sandman, but for Batman. And the fact that this movie is going to be an R-rated body horror film, right there, that's pretty cool. That's definitely breaking the mold of sort of traditional comic book movies that we're used to. So if it's something fresh, I'm all there for it. And finally, my last honorable mention is going to be for Toy Story 5. Yes, there's another one coming out. This franchise obviously should have ended with a third film like 16 years ago, but that being said, I do think the idea, the story behind Toy Story 5 seems to be pretty damn good. The idea of toys, sort of being overshadowed by technology nowadays is something that is very accurate. It's pretty hard to find kids playing with toys. They're always playing Subway Surfer and shit like that on their phones. So for that to be the direction they're going in with this franchise, I think is smart. Do we need another movie? No, but I do think the premise is at least a lot more relevant and interesting than what we had with Toy Story 4, so I'm looking forward to it. With that being said, those are my honorable mentions. Now let's jump into the actual top 10 list. Coming in 10th place for me is going to be The Adventures of Cliff Booth. This is a sequel to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino's last film, or his most recent film, I should say, which was a film that I really enjoyed. I thought that Brad Pitt was a lot of fun in that movie, so I'm excited to see a sequel, or sort of sequel, spin-off, whatever you want to call it, focused on his character. And this film is being directed by David Fincher. If you can't have Tarantino return, David Fincher is like pretty much the next best thing that you can get. He's an excellent director, he has an incredible body of work, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he brings to this character and to this series, if you want to call it that, but I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. It's being released on Netflix in the summer, hopefully getting a theatrical release as well, but definitely one that I'll be checking out regardless. Moving into 9th place for me is going to be the film Digger, which is going to be the newest film from Alejandro Inarritu, who is the great director behind films such as Birdman, The Revenant, and more. I am looking forward to this film quite a bit. There's not a whole lot known about it right now. It's said to be a comedy of catastrophic proportions starring Tom Cruise. He's going to be playing a character with definitely a lot of prosthetic work. There was a teaser trailer a few months ago, but it really didn't even hint at anything, to be honest. From what I understand, this movie is dealing with like an oil driller who messes up something and it's possibly going to end the world, and he ends up trying to trick people into thinking he's the savior, something like that. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to seeing Tom Cruise in a bit of a different role. It's been a while since he's had a comedic role or something different from just like, traditional action Tom Cruise stuff. So I think this will be fun. I think he might end up being in contention for Best Actor next year, which would be great to see because he's obviously one of the most iconic movie stars of all time. Regardless, though, great director behind this one, great star, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this film turns out. In 8th place for me is going to be Resident Evil, the newest film from Zach Krager, who has been on a pretty solid run the last few years. I really enjoyed Barbarian, and I absolutely loved Weapons, which released last year. I think that was an excellent film, and so I'm really excited to see his take on the Resident Evil franchise. This is one of my favorite game series out there. I adore this series. I literally just played the 9th game on my channel. And, seeing his take on this franchise I think is going to be really entertaining. It's said that it is not going to be following the storyline of the games, which some fans are pretty upset about. But, it's Zach Krager. I trust him. If it was anybody else, I wouldn't. But I think being that this is a guy who has given us some really damn good horror films in the last couple of years, I'm excited to see what he brings to the formula for this franchise. So definitely going to be checking out Resident Evil when it comes out later this year. In 7th place for me is going to be Avengers Doomsday. Now, the MCU has definitely fallen off a bit of a cliff ever since Avengers Endgame. There's definitely been great movies here and there. I loved Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I think No Way Home was a lot of fun. Thunderbolts was pretty great last year. But in terms of the grand schemes of things, it really hasn't been there. The multiverse storyline has just been all over the place. It's felt aimless. Like, there's been absolutely no direction in the story whatsoever. Nothing that they've been building up to. And I'm not a fan of the multiverse stuff. For me, it just feels like nostalgia bait. It's fun the first time around, but once that initial excitement passes, it just ends up feeling like fanfic. And that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from Doomsday so far. The casting announcements have done absolutely nothing for me. Cool, we're getting the X-Men characters back. Cool, we're seeing Patrick Stewart for like the 19th time as this character. It doesn't excite me. I am looking forward to seeing Doctor Doom. I am looking forward to seeing hopefully some cool stuff with like a medieval world. I don't know. But the multiverse stuff, it's really not there for me. When this was first announced that Robert Downey Jr. was going to be playing the character, I rolled my eyes very heavily. That just feels like the most desperate move to try to win back the general audience who has sort of lost interest in Marvel. We'll see how this one turns out. It's a little bit lower than it normally would be on my list just because, the MCU just really hasn't been it lately. But it's going to be a huge event regardless, and, still looking forward to it nonetheless. Moving into 6th place for me is going to be Project Hail Mary, which releases in like 24 hours, so that's kind of why I wanted to get this video out today. But I'm looking forward to this one quite a bit. Phil Lord and Chris Miller, two great directors. Their work on the Spider-Verse films, 21 Jump Street movies, the Lego movie, right? They have a great sense of humor. They make some really awesome films, and this movie looks excellent. I have not read the book personally, but I've heard nothing but great things. The Martian was a great film. This is from the same author. Visually, this film looks incredible from the trailers. It looks like it's going to be some gorgeous stuff. So really looking forward to this one just purely based on a visual standpoint. But again, I've heard some great things about this story, about the heart of it, at the core of the movie. Ryan Gosling, one of the best actors working nowadays. I think, he's just a great, really likable actor who can pull off a lot of roles very, very well, especially more comedic roles. That's something that he's been kind of coming out and doing a lot of in the last few years, and he's been nailing it with films like Barbie and whatnot. So really looking forward to seeing how this one turns out. Obviously, the reviews are already out, and they're stellar, so I have that in hindsight to talk about as well. But yeah, I think this one's going to be a lot of fun, and can't wait to see it. Moving into the top 5, 5th place for me is going to be Werewolf, the newest film from Robert Eggers. Another one of my favorite, if not my favorite, horror directors working today. I absolutely adore the films he's made. Nosferatu is great. I thought that The Northman was excellent, and The Lighthouse is potentially one of my favorite horror films of all time. So this guy has made some excellent films, and yeah, him making a werewolf movie with kind of the same cast he's been working with on his last film, Aaron Taylor Johnson, I think Lily Rose Depp is back. Willem Dafoe, you can never go wrong with him. It'll be a great time. Initially, when it was first announced, I was a little underwhelmed, I guess you could say, just having gotten, a period piece vampire film, getting a period piece werewolf film. I was like, okay, not as, exciting of a change as I would have expected, but it'll be great regardless, so I'm looking forward to this one. Moving our way into number 4, I have Spider-Man Brand New Day, which is being directed by Destin Daniel Cretton, who gave us Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings. Or just Shang-Chi if you're a normal person and don't care about the stupid subtitle. Pretty solid MCU film. One of the more entertaining ones, I would say, to have come out since Avengers Endgame. Definitely had some excellent choreography in the action sequences, and that's something that I think the John Watts trilogy was heavily lacking, was exciting action sequences. I also just wasn't the biggest fan of the direction they took that character in over that trilogy, so having that fresh reset that we got at the end of No Way Home was something that definitely opened the doors up to just being able to do a lot more with this character. And from what I've learned about this film so far, I'm on board. I think the whole idea of them going with the man spider arc, or whatever you want to call it, where he turns into an 8-limbed human being, is pretty cool. That's super different and really weird and wacky and out there for Spider-Man. But, you know, being that this character is going through so many things, he's lost his friends, he's lost his aunt, he's lost his uncle, right? He's in his depressed phase, so him going through these changes, it's a cool concept. I actually think it's a really smart idea. My concern with this movie is it might be a little overstuffed. If the leaks that I've heard and whatnot are true, there's a lot going on in this movie. I think it might be a bit overstuffed, but the trailer came out. I thought it looked pretty solid. It wasn't like mind-blowing by any means, but visually it certainly looks like a major step up over those John Watts films. And yeah, I'm excited to see where the story goes with this character, because Spider-Man is my favorite MCU character. Well, not MCU character, but favorite Marvel Comics character. Alright, moving into third place for me is going to be Disclosure Day, which is the newest film from director Steven Spielberg, one of the most iconic directors of all time, if not the most, if I'm being honest, at least in my life. I mean, yeah, like, my whole childhood owes a huge thanks to this man. Yes, you know, Spielberg, like, since the 2010s has been kind of wishy-washy. He's had some great movies. He's had some not-so-great films. I do think so far in the 2020s, though, he's been on a pretty solid track record. I really liked his remake of West Side Story. I quite liked The Fabelmans. Disclosure Day looks cool so far. This might be a secret sequel to the Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which would be cool to see. But the trailers have been pretty sweet, in my opinion. It looks good. I like the look of the movie. The trailers have a cool feel to them. John Williams, who is like 100 at this point, is being brought back from hospice to do the score for this movie, which is great. So having that, you know, iconic legendary duo come back is going to be great to see for sure. So really looking forward to that. And yeah, just Spielberg and aliens usually is a good mix, unless you're Indiana Jones. So I'm excited to see where this one goes. Should be a good time. But obviously this is, you know, probably the entry on this list, I would say, next to like Avengers, is the most, like, you know, it could go either way. We'll see. But I have faith in Spielberg. I think he's been on a good track record lately, and I'm excited to see more from him. Coming in second place, the runner-up, my second most anticipated movie of 2026, is Dune Part 3. So far, the Dune trilogy has been excellent. I liked the first one a lot. I thought the second one was honestly incredible. A big step up over the first one, and I already thought the first one was really good, like I said. But that film was just truly amazing. One of the best theater experiences I've had in my life. From a visual standpoint, these films are just absolutely incredible. The storyline, while I haven't read the books personally, the story is really interesting. I really like the characters, the depth that this world and story has. So seeing, you know, just the conclusion of Paul Atreides' story and this trilogy coming to a close, I can't wait for it. It's said to be more action-focused, which I think is great. The first two films I found to be a little lacking in that regard, at least the first one. So I think just seeing more of, like, the giant war and everything is going to be great. Seeing Timothée Chalamet really, like, you know, step into Paul Atreides at his peak as a character, and all these things going on. Robert Pattinson joining the cast, right? It's definitely shaping up to be an excellent movie. That trailer the other day was phenomenal, in my opinion, and has me very excited to see how this one goes. So yeah, Denis Villeneuve, Hans Zimmer, teaming up again. I'm sure that this is going to be incredible, and it comes out the same day as Avengers, which is hilarious. But finally taking home the number one spot for me is going to be Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. Nolan is my favorite director of all time. He has just been on an absolute roll for his entire career, to be honest. I don't think he's had one bad film in his career. And, you know, Oppenheimer, he's coming off of his hottest movie, right? Like, one Best Picture, one Best Director, so many awards, almost $1 billion at the box office for a film about the man who made the nuclear bomb in the 1940s. Like, that's just, you don't get that nowadays, right? Normally that film would make like $100 million and flop, and you wouldn't hear about it again. But Nolan turned it into this cinematic event, and partly because of Barbenheimer, but still, like, huge movie. And for him to follow all that up with one of the most renowned stories of all time, the Iliad and the Odyssey, or I guess more so the Odyssey, is amazing. $250 million budget, first movie to ever be shot entirely in IMAX film. I have my tickets to go see this film opening day and the following day in IMAX 70mm. Literally got those tickets a year in advance. I can't wait for this. This is shaping up to be one of the most incredible movie experiences of my life. The trailer was so exciting. I mean, seeing that Cyclops that they built for this movie, Truly, like, Nolan is obviously a director who cares very much so about doing things as practically as possible. Yes, he uses CGI in his movies. Like, it's kind of impossible not to with the things that are going on in this, but just with the care that he takes into making things feel as real as possible, this movie is going to look incredible. And he's teaming up with Ludwig Göransson, who is on a roll. He just won his 3rd Oscar the other night. So yeah, there's a lot of awesome directors making movies this year, but even better than that, there's a lot of awesome directors working with a lot of awesome composers this year. So can't wait for this one. My hype is through the roof. The only thing that I'm like a little iffy on is the cast. It's not my favorite casting options I've seen. I'm not the biggest fan of like Tom Holland and Zendaya. It kind of feels like a generic Hollywood pick, but I am willing to give them a shot. It doesn't hurt my excitement for the movie. I'm sure it's going to be incredible. So there you have it. Those are my top 10 most anticipated movies releasing in 2026. Let me know what your most anticipated films are down below. Like I said, it's shaping up to be a great year, and it's just a very exciting time to be a film fan. So if you liked this video and you want to see more like it, click the subscribe button, and I will see you all next time. Bye.